They say a man can gamble away his goats, his land, even his dignity, but when he begins to gamble away blood, the ancestors stop covering their ears. In the land of Nkwo-Ekwọ, where the red earth clung to feet like stubborn memory and iroko trees stood like ancient judges watching human foolishness, there was a man whose name once carried respect. His name was Okafor Nnaji. But that was before dice became louder than wisdom in his ears. Before death began to follow him like a shadow that refused to sleep. And before he did the unthinkable. Before he sold his own daughter. Okafor was not always a broken man. There was a time when his compound was the pride of Nkwo-Ekwọ village. Goats fat like drums wandered freely. His yam barns stood tall like small hills of prosperity. Even the village elders, those men whose beards carried wisdom and dust, used to nod when his name was mentioned. Okafor Nnaji, they would say, is a man the ancestors have not forgotten. But wealth, like palm wine left open under the sun, begins to ferment if care is not taken. And Okafor had begun to change. It started with small visits. A gambling den at the edge of the village market. Hidden behind the smoke of roasted corn and the laughter of traders. At first, he only watched. Then he played. Then he lost. And then, he chased loss like a madman chasing a shadow at noon. The gambling house was carved into darkness. Lanterns flickered like nervous spirits. Men shouted, cursed, laughed, and collapsed into despair in the same breath. And at the center of it all sat Nkwo-Ekwọ, a man whose smile was as sharp as broken glass. He never forced anyone to play. No. He simply made losing feel like destiny. Okafor. Ozo would call each time. Come, let the dice decide your fate again. And Okafor would come. Because pride is a louder hunger than wisdom. Night after night. Loss after loss. Death after death. Until one evening, the silence in Okafor's home became heavier than iron pots. His wife, Adis, watched him with eyes that had stopped crying because even tears had grown tired. Must you go again? She asked one night, her voice soft like cracked calabash. Okafor did not answer. He only tied his wrapper tighter. And walked out. That was the night something in their home broke permanently. Death does not knock politely. It enters. And it sits. And it eats. Nkwo-Ekwọ came first with smiles. Then with reminders. Then with men who did not smile at all. Okafor, Ozo said one morning, standing in his compound like a man inspecting livestock, you owe more than your goats can carry. Okafor forced a laugh. Give me time. Ozo nodded slowly. I will give you time, but time here works with interest. Behind him, two men adjusted their stance. Men who did not blink much. Men who smelled like consequences. Death swallowed land. Death swallowed goats. Death began to swallow sleep. And then it began to whisper into Okafor's thoughts at night. Amara. His daughter. 13 years old. Feet always dusty. Eyes always curious. A child who believed the world was still kind because she had not yet met the full weight of it. She sang while pounding cassava. She laughed at goats like they were her siblings. She called her father, the strongest man in Nkwo-Ekwọ. And each time she said it, something inside Okafor cracked, but did not break. Not yet. Adis knew. Mothers always know when silence begins planning evil. One evening she confronted him near the cooking fire. The men from Ozo's house came again, she said. Okafor stared at the fire. The debt will be settled. With what? She asked sharply. Silence. Even the fire seemed to pause. That night, Ozo came alone. No guards. No shouting. Just calm. Too calm. Like a snake that already knows the animal it will swallow. He sat inside Okafor's compound. I can wipe your debt, he said gently. Okafor's heart jumped. What do you want? Ozo smiled. And that smile should have warned him. Your land. Already gone in interest. Okafor swallowed. My goats. Ozo shook his head. No value anymore. Then Ozo leaned forward. But you have something still untouched. Silence stretched. Ozo spoke again. Your daughter. The word did not explode. It simply stopped. Even crickets forgot their song. Okafor laughed nervously. You are joking. Ozo stood. I never joke about numbers. He adjusted his robe. Bring her to me in 7 days. Your dead disappears. Then he walked out, leaving behind silence that felt alive. For 3 days, Okafor did not speak. On the 4th day, he drank palm wine from morning until night. On the 5th, he began watching Amara differently. Not like a father. Like a man counting currency. Adis noticed. Mothers always notice the moment love begins to rot. You are thinking of it, she whispered one night. Okafor slammed his fist. I am thinking of survival. At the cost of your blood. He turned away. And in that turning away, the decision was made. Amara slept peacefully. Dreaming of future harvest. Dreaming of marriage ceremonies she would one day dance at. Dreaming of a life she believed was waiting kindly for her. Outside, her father sat under the iroko tree. The moonlight cut his shadow into 2 halves. One half still human. The other already lost. You are not doing this, Adi said. I already have, Okafor replied. The 7th day came like a judgment. Okafor bathed Amara himself. She laughed. Papa, why are you dressing me like a bride? His hands shook. Because you deserve to look beautiful. She smiled. And that smile almost killed him. At the market edge, Ozo waited. When Amara saw him, she hid behind her father. Papa, why is that man here? Okafor's mouth opened. But no truth came out. Instead, he said the worst lie father can ever speak. Go with him. Silence shattered. Adi screamed. Amara froze. Papa. But Okafor could not look at her. Because if he did, he would stop. And he could not afford to stop. Ozo took her hand gently. And Amara stopped resisting. Days passed. Okafor's death vanished. But freedom tasted like ashes. Then whispers began. Amara had not been seen. Ozo avoided questions. And fear began to grow. Then a traveler entered Nkwo-Ekwọ village. He asked one question in the marketplace. Where is the girl sold by Okafor Nnaji? Silence fell. By evening, the village gathered. Okafor was dragged out. Ozo arrived smiling. Too smiling. The traveler spoke. I saw a child locked behind Ozo's gambling house. Shock rippled. She was not sold, he continued. She was hidden. The truth exploded like thunder. Ozo had been collecting children from desperate men, selling them into forced labor. The village erupted. Okafor staggered. No. Then Amara was found. Alive. Locked away. When Okafor reached her, she did not smile. She only whispered. Papa, why? That question broke him forever. Ozo was dragged to the village square. Bound. Exposed. His smile gone. Judgment fell. Exile. Forever. No land. No home. No mercy. Okafor never recovered. Amara survived, but never called him father again. Adi stayed, but something in her had gone quiet forever. And Okafor became a man who walked Nkwo-Ekwọ roads alone, carrying a silence heavier than any death. Because the loudest voice in his life was no longer human. It was regret. And the elders later said, A man who sells his child does not gain freedom, he only rents regret for life. And in Nkwo-Ekwọ, they still whisper it near the iroko tree. Debt can be paid with gold, but betrayal is paid with the soul. Vidaiku.